What's up, everybody? Cole Sands here with your weekly fishing report. It is December 28th, 2021, and I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. Hope you had a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I can't thank y'all enough for the support. For those who've booked a guide trip with me, man, we've had a lot of fun this year, caught a lot of bass, and made some great memories, so I appreciate y'all. This week, we're going to talk about rattle trap fishing. You know, last week I talked about winter fishing somewhat. I talked about rattle trap some. I talked about Alabama rigs and jerk baits, and I'll go more in depth to Alabama rig fishing and jerk bait fishing as the season progresses. You know, as it gets colder, that Alabama rig bite and that jerk bait bite's really going to explode. But we got some warm weather this week. It's been in the 60s. It's been beautiful weather, you know, which is always nice in December. We've been catching some big fish on a rattle trap. But before we dive into anything, I just want to thank my sponsors. I'm just going to name off a few this year who've supported me throughout my Bassmaster Opens and through guiding. And y'all be sure to check them out. I'm going to mention them because I want y'all to go look at them, go talk to them, buy some of their product. And, you know, I can't thank them enough. But so first off, Tumbling Real Estate, Professionals and Land Consulting. If y'all are looking for a home around Lake Chickamauga, I have a lot of people ask, you know, what's available around the lake, because Lake Chickamauga is a beautiful place to live. It's a great fishery. Be sure to check them out. That's Tumbling Real Estate. Check them out on Facebook, message them. They're great people, and they'll hook you up. I promise they'll give you some really good results. The second one, Lake Chickamauga Rentals. They own a couple cabins here on Lake Chickamauga, right there on the lake in Richland Creek, which is sweet. I drive by it. I fish by it all the time. I catch fish all around their dock. Check them out at LakeChickamaugARentals.com. It's a beautiful home right there in the water. I have people ask seriously every week, you know, what's a good place to stay? There's none better than that. So y'all check them out. Third, Yo-Zuri Hardcore Lures. You've heard me talk every single week about Yo-Zuri products, and that's because they catch fish. You know, if anything that I promote on here is stuff that I've gone out and I've caught fish with. You know, I'm not just saying that to sell their lures. I'm going out. And if I'm catching them on different brands, I'll tell you I'm catching them on different brands. But there's a lot of really good Yo-Zuri baits that are working right now and have worked for me throughout the year. So y'all check them out. Fourth, Witch Doctor tackle rods. It's the only rod I use. Extremely high quality. Don't lose many fish. They're crazy strong. It's a company out of Florida. They know what it's like to catch big bass, and they're great fishing rods. Fifth, Bass Attitude. Y'all check them out. It's an apparel company. They make some really cool hats, some really cool shirts, and check them out on social media. They also have a website, got some really cool stuff. And then lastly, Gambler Lures, True Bass Swim Baits, and Diamond Alabama Rigs. All great products, all great companies. Y'all buy from them, help me out, help them out. And if you're like me, you can't have too much fishing stuff. So let's go ahead and dive into this week's report. So last week it was a little bit colder. Caught some fish on an Alabama rig. It was really two different patterns. We'd fish some transition stuff, you know, some main lake creek mouths, some creek channel bends, some bluffs, some stuff in the creeks with an Alabama rig, and had some good days with it, you know, caught some solid fish. We do that for about half the day, then we'd go up shallow. When I say shallow, 5 foot and less with a rattle trap, or in this case, a Yo-Zuri rattling vibe, you know, something, a trap style bait. We'd go up shallow, 5 foot or less, and we'd throw it around, rip it out of grass, and we had some really good days doing that. Now, yesterday I went out. It was mid-60s. The water had warmed up into the 50s, and the Alabama rig bite kind of seemed to dwindle a little bit. I always do best on an Alabama rig when it gets really cold. Same way with the jerk bait. But yesterday I picked up a rattle trap, threw two different sizes. I threw a little 3/8 and then a 5/8, which, you know, just a little bit bigger, a little bit heavier. When I throw a 3/8 ounce rattle trap, it's usually one of two conditions. One, I'm fishing super shallow, which yesterday we were. We were getting in some backwater stuff, fishing really shallow. The water's down, but you know, it was really warm weather yesterday, so a lot of the fish push shallow. So I throw that 3/8 ounce wherever it's super shallow, where I think this 5/8 is just gonna fall a little bit too quick. So that's one scenario. And two, you know, it's Lake Chickamauga, this lake gets pounded. And most people you see are gonna be throwing a 1/2 ounce rattle trap, 1/2 ounce or 5/8. And a lot of times you can just downsize to that little 3/8. It's got a little different action, falls a little slower, and it'll get you some bites that you wouldn't normally get. Last week, we on a guide trip, I went behind a really good fisherman. He was a couple hundred yards in front of us. We fished right behind him, and I think we caught about a dozen on that little 3/8 ounce rattle trap. You know, those were fish that the person in front of us missed. And so that's kind of how I choose. I do throw a 3/4 ounce some. I don't throw it near as much as some people. Now, if you want a big bite, a 3/4 ounce rattle trap can get you that. If I'm fishing maybe something 8, 12 foot, maybe a ditch mouth, something a little bit deeper, a little shell bed, I might pick up a 3/4 ounce trap. I personally don't throw it much. I know people do and catch them, but personally I don't. But let's talk about color. You know, there's hundreds and hundreds of different rattle traps. There's hundreds of different colors made. And there's certain times where certain colors work better, but to make it easy on y'all, I'm gonna tell y'all my 4 favorite colors and then throw in a couple other colors to kind of tell you why I throw these colors. And we'll go from there. So yesterday, the main player, one of my all-time favorites, and I almost hate sharing this with y'all because it catches so many fish, but is that girl right there, that rattling vibe. That's the 5/8 ounce size. That was the main player yesterday. I caught one a little bit over 9 on it. I had several other solid 3 to 5 pound fish on that bait right there. And that's I think that's Ghost Pearl Shad. It's a Yozuri lure. It's super translucent, and something about that on Lake Chickamauga catches the crap out of fish. Secondly, and what a lot of people will start throwing, including me, is a red rattle trap. That's my favorite one out of any I've ever thrown. That's the Mac Crawl from Yozuri. What's cool about it, most rattle traps have a glossy finish. That one's actually a matte finish, so it doesn't create a whole lot of flash. And that's my go-to red color 9 times out of 10. I will switch to the one with a little bit of gold on it sometimes, but I'll dig into that in a second. But so these 2 colors, super good. Royal purple, that's a killer on this lake. Something about it. I've seen a lot of times where you can go behind people throwing red and pick up that purple one and smash them. And then lastly, I like just a shad color, either a sexy shad or that's more of a gizzard shad pattern. And that's probably a little bit more of a threadfin shad pattern, but just a shad color, something just got a lot of white in it, maybe just a little offset color on the back, whether it's a blue or black like this one is. It's almost like a copper. But that's my 4 colors I'm gonna go to. I'm gonna go that translucent one, and I'm gonna go to a translucent one like this whenever the water's clean. A lot of places on Chickamauga in the wintertime, if you're not getting much rain, it's usually really clean water, and that's when I go to that one. If I'm throwing a rattle trap in clean water, that is the go-to. Now I will go to this one right here, which is a ghost bluegill pattern. And I actually saw this 2 weeks ago. I got back in a backwater area and I was catching them on a rattle trap, and I wasn't hooking them very good. I was catching a ton of fish, but I was just barely getting them. And I was catching them on that sexy shad color really good, and I was catching some of this ghost color, but they weren't getting it. But I looked down one's throat and it had a baby bluegill in its mouth, and then I snagged a couple little bluegill. I'm like, okay, I need to make a change. I switched over to this bluegill pattern, that ghost bluegill, and I started catching every fish I caught on this had it choked way down its throat. And that's just a little change. There's stuff like that you're just going to have to figure out as you're on the water. Are these fish, are they feeding on crawfish? Are they feeding on shad? Or are they feeding on bluegill? So that's just a little adjustment I made that actually made a big difference. That I wasn't near as worried about losing fish because they were eating it a lot deeper. So yeah, when the water is really clean, I'm going to throw a ghost translucent pattern, one of these 2 almost every time. And if I think they're eating shad, I'm probably going to go with that one. If I notice they're eating bluegill, I'm going to go with more of the bluegill color. So that's kind of one of the things I look for when the water's clear. Colors that work almost all the time is just a shad pattern. That's a real, if the water's a little stained, if the water's a little clean, if it's sunny, if it's cloudy, those 2 colors will always work. A sexy shad, and I think that's just called a shad on the Yozuri website, but it's more of a gizzard shad pattern. Those 2 colors will always work no matter what. They might not work the best for that day, but they will always get you bites. If the water's just got a little color to it, or whatever it may be, that's just a good starting point, is to have one of these tied on, just a shad pattern. Now as it cools off, now February, March, even late January, I start really doing good on a red color. And there's two different reds that I keep in my boat. I try not to overcomplicate anything. There is a matte crawl, which there's no glossy finish. It doesn't really flash that much. Then there's this one with the gold in it, which does create a flash. And usually what I've noticed, I threw both a lot last year. I would throw this one on cloudy days and I'll do better. And on the sunny days, I would throw this one with the gold in it, and it created a little bit more flash, and it seemed like this one would kind of outperform. So that's kind of what I go for when I'm throwing a red rattle trap. I keep it simple. Sunny, throw a little bit gold. Cloudy, throw that matte crawl. Super simple. Don't overthink it. For this purple one right here, it seemed to work all the time. I don't know what it is about that color. I can't tell you what it looks like. I don't know, but it catches a lot of fish on Lake Chickamauga. Like I said, it's kind of a darker color, so maybe they think it's some type of shade of red. I don't know, but you can go behind a lot of people. And I saw days last year where this red would outperform, and I saw days where this purple would outperform. It's one of the deals you're just going to have to kind of experiment. If you got two people in the boat, one throw one color, one throw the other. But keep your confident baits on, and then. But besides that, there's a lot of different rattle trap colors. There's chrome and gold, and there's a ton of stuff to think about. But so far, keep it simple. Keep it to them three main colors. That red, that translucent, and a shad color. Or, that purple color is a good one too. I'd have it in your box. But as far as the gold color goes, I've never really caught them on Chickamauga all that great on gold. Now, if I go further south, go to Florida, like Seminole, Harris Chain, Kissimmee, places like that, that is a killer because the lake is full of golden shiners. And I've caught some on Chick with it, don't get me wrong, but it's just not my go-to. With that being said, there's probably somebody out there just whacking them on that color, but it's not my go-to on this lake. And then another one, kind of a old popular, is a chrome color one. And I have caught some good fish on Chick. And the days I've done best with this one on Chickamauga is when it's super windy and super sunny, and that chrome will create a lot of flash. The fish will see it coming, and that's always my best day. Super windy, sunny days is when I'll do a chrome and blue. Besides that, muddy water. When we get some of them spring rains, the water muddies up. Really, that's when I stick to about three different colors. This one right here was a killer last spring. We got a lot of rain, and it muddied up the creeks, and that's a citrus shad color. Still kind of looks like a shad, but you got a little bit more chartreuse, a little bit more light blue, just sticks out a little bit more. And that one was really, really good. Always red and muddy water. That's just a known fact that catches fish. Now I do catch fish on red and clear water too some, but whenever it gets muddy, definitely want that red. And then another killer in that muddy water is that purple, because it is dark. It's got chartreuse on the bottom. And that's just a good go-to bait. But besides that, that's probably enough this week on rattle traps. Just go out there, keep experimenting. For me, I'll usually have, let's say I'm going out by myself tomorrow and I have a tournament. I'm going to have probably 2 or 3 different rattle traps tied on. I'll definitely have 2. Sometimes I'll have 3. If the water's real clean, like I was telling you about, I'll have these 2 colors on. I'll have that one and that one. Those will be the 2 I rotate through just to see if they're eating shad or if they're eating crawfish. The water's got just a tad, just a little bit of color to it. I'll probably have more of a sexy shad and a red one on. But it's pretty much the same thing. You're trying to see if are they eating shad or are they eating crawfish? Now, sometimes they are eating bluegill, and that's just one thing. As you fish, you're going to make observations, and maybe you're snagging some bluegill with your rattle trap. Maybe you're seeing it down some fish's throat that you're catching. You're just going to have to kind of see. So that's kind of my spill on rattle trap fishing. I know it's a lot to take in, but stick with your confident baits, and you should be really successful this winter. Thanks, guys, and Happy New Year. Bye.